Revolutionary greetings to all and sundry, my dear people of the Southern Cameroons. Accept greetings from me, John Ba AKUROH. Today is December 11 in the year 2020. This is the last month of the year 2020, and I'm delighted to talk to all the brave warriors of our freedom of the Southern Cameroons and to every other friend of the Southern Cameroons, particularly those who have stood by us throughout this period from 2016 when we got into this phase of our struggle for freedom right on to this day. Today, we are going to be discussing two very important and crucial issues. The first of the things that we're going to be discussing today will have to do with the numerous meetings being held in Bamenda. The first one between the impostor city mayor, Chobang Paul, and the business community, and the second one that took place this Friday, between the colonial senior divisional administrator in Mezam, the senior divisional officer, and the people of the finance sector. That's still members of the business community, but of the finance sector, people who run companies like Express Union, Express Exchange, in fact, all of those structures that have to do with money. And the only objective of those meetings has to do with, breaking the momentum of our struggle for freedom, with turning the people against their own, independence quest. That is the fight against the ghost towns. And then after that, we shall come to the most important aspect of today's conversation, which has to do with the takeaways from the briefing of the United Nations Security Council that took place in New York, in the United States of America. My dear people, let us get into the nitty-gritties of this conversation right now. I know, and I know for sure, that there are a lot of people who really marvel and ask themselves this question, whether the government of Cameroon believes that they can keep doing the same thing over and over, year in, year out since 2016, and expecting different results. But all the same, it is not superfluous for us to try to remind our people always of the importance of the actions that we take. If you have been respecting the ghost town calls from 2017 right up to this day, it is not really because anybody is obliging you to. It is because you believe in the freedom we are seeking. It is because you believe that as a civilian, that as a civil society, you have to at least show one thing to the world, show one thing to the international community, that this is not just an affair of a few persons, that you are displeased, not happy with the state of affairs as they are currently, and that we will never again accept to be treated as slaves in the land of our birth. My dear people of the Southern Cameroons, I saw Mr. Chobang Paul try to do one of those desperate things that they have done in several places and they have not worked, trying to convince and coerce a few people, trying to give some little money to a few persons to come out there and hold billboards that they don't even believe in. We had seen before people assembled at the Commercial Avenue in Bamenda. Some of the people even in bathroom slippers and covering their faces. This is the same thing that we saw this this Thursday in Bamenda, with people standing and holding billboards but covering their faces and making sure the cameras don't really identify them. This sends one simple message, that these people don't even believe in what they are doing. That these people are either coerced or because they are hungry. They have been brought together and promised, a few loaves of bread. And they told themselves, well, if it is only for this, after all, we know it's not going to have any impact. Let's go and stand there and then play this whole show and earn what we can earn and go and feed our families with. It's a pity that rather than do what every other person expects that a normal and right-thinking person should do, the government of Cameroon continues to believe that they will throw objects at us, that they will throw crumbs at our people and turn the people against the fight that they are leading for the soul, the very soul of the Southern Cameroons, for their freedom, for future generations of Southern Cameroonians, for those who are yet to be born. We are determined, my people, that the difficulties we have faced, our future for the current generation that was stolen by La République du Cameroon is not only what we're seeking to restore. We want to make sure those who are born after us will not be born into slavery and servitude, will not be born into a community, into a situation where they'll be treated as subhumans, will not be born in a community, in a situation where they will be treated as, should I say, as animals, where they'll be discriminated upon and handled like people who do not even have a home, although we have a home. My dear people, you must have realized that it is because we raised hell, it is because we shouted out loud that one of us, Yvette, I'm even turning off her name, that one of us, Mispa, who found herself fighting for Mr. Maurice Kamto with a number of women from everywhere and was singled out alone because she's a Southern Cameroonian and thrown into jail. It is because of our outcry that she was released. My people, this is just one more evidence to all of those who continue to think that anything can be forged with La République du Cameroon to understand that as far as they are concerned, we are not humans. We are simply subhumans. And therefore, avoiding anything that links us to them is the best and most important thing to do. So, this man they call Achobang Paul, he has a house behind Ayaba Hotel. He doesn't live there anymore. He lives upstation. He lives in a place where he's gathered with at least 10 to 15 soldiers every time. Whenever he has to move, he will either be in an armored car or he will move around with thick layers of security. But he's asking you who has no security at all, you don't have access to any armored cars, nothing, to go there and put your head under the sledgehammer for his sake, so that he should continue to, tap from where he never sold. My dear people, all those threats are threats we have heard before. Mind you, we continue to operate as a bunch, like a bunch of broom. We will continue to be strong. If you take yourself out of the bunch, you become very easy to break. But if you remain in the bunch of broom, they will never be able to break anyone. We must have to continue to remain strong. Mr. Senior Divisional Officer today was threatening business persons of the finance sector with total closure of their businesses from January 10 if they continue to respect ghost towns. My people, you have a choice to make here. Do you want to operate your businesses and live a permanent life of slavery, deliver your children into slavery and servitude? Or you want to let them shut it down for a few days because they can't hold it long? They themselves need those services, and they will understand that we are going to stop at nothing until we get what we want. I think this is the path of wisdom. We cannot let strangers define who we are in our own land. We cannot let strangers come to our land and tell us how we will live. We have been sending this strong message to the world. The world is seeing it, and we have to continue in the same light. In my next discussion, in my next communication, I'll bring a very important analysis about the situation of our traditional rulers, about the situation of our culture and customs, and make each and every one of us understand how they started eroding this gradually, and we let them. And they kept inching in until they've got to a point now where we are finding it so difficult to extricate what it represents the soul of the Southern Cameroons from their hands. This is why we really do not have to give them any opportunity to keep digging into us until we get that which we want, until we get that freedom that we deserve. Yes, all men are born free, and that is why we have to be free, I don't accept the last part of that quotation, which says, but everywhere they are in chains. Yes, we have been in chains for about 60 years, but we have decided that it is time to break loose from those chains, and we will attain our objective. That's the much I have to say. Exchange with one another, discuss strategies, come to agreements, and resolve to remain strong. We will overcome. They did this in Kumba. They offered even fuel. They offered even money. They offered all kinds of incentives. But our brave people know what they want, and they turned all of this down. It is not in Bamenda that they will come and succeed. I have confidence, unshakable confidence, on the very brave soldiers of our revolution who are the people of Bamenda. I trust all Southern Cameroonians to continue to stand strong for what we all believe in. We will overcome. That said, let us move on now to this very important discussion about what I consider to be the takeaways from the briefing of the UN Security Council that took place in New York 2 days ago. My dear people, we had the opportunity to listen to a presentation by Mr. Lansony Fall, representing a UNOCA. And when that was done, we definitely had the opportunity to listen to diplomat after diplomat representing the various regions of the world talked about the situation in the Cameroons. The first observation, and interestingly enough, it is a French member of parliament who jumped on it first, because I think it shocked not only the people who still have some conscience in France, it definitely shocked the entire world that the French, who are so involved, whose proxy war this is in the southern Cameroons, preferred not to even make a mention. They avoided the topic, avoided the subject matter, as if everything in the Cameroons had reverted to normal. That is exactly the message La République du Cameroon has been struggling to pass to the world without any success. Thank God, the silence of France met, the shouting concern of the rest of the global community. My dear people, we definitely had the opportunity to hear strong opinions from the Germans, from Indonesians, from Russia, from all other international actors who represented the UN Security Council. There are some important things to highlight here. First, the appellation separatists and secessionists. This tells you we still have some work to do. We still have to get the world fully reminded of the fact that Southern Cameroonians are not secessionists. You only secede from something where you had belonged before. We didn't belong. We do not belong. Therefore, we are not seceding. The Southern Cameroons and La République du Cameroun were on pause in 1960 and 1961. Both UN trust territories, all deserving of independence, because we're all being prepared for independence. Therefore, when they talk about the people of the Southern Cameroons are referred to us as secessionists, is that we still have some educating to do. It is true that they can't pretend they don't know, but let's convince ourselves that they don't know. In the past, we have taken the posture of a reminder, but now we have to take the posture of educators to let them understand that the people of the Southern Cameroons are not secessionists. You can call us separatists, I don't mind, but I know that you could simply be saying because there was some intention to join, which didn't really materialize into that kind of effective joining, here we are free to want to separate. But the real fact is we are restorationists. We are simply restoring our stolen independence. So this is something that we need to pay attention to. Next, for the first time, we heard this diplomat say that the humanitarian needs have graduated, usually from the 1.5 million that they talked about, now to approximately 6.5 people in need of serious humanitarian assistance. 6.5 million people in grave need of humanitarian assistance. That sends one message, that the world knows that the situation is worsening and not improving. The situation is worsening and not improving. Recently, the situation in the southern Cameroons was classified among one of the top 5 world most neglected conflicts or crises in the world. And this is absolutely important. It points out to the fact that the internationalization of the southern Cameroon's situation or the southern Cameroon's question has not only gained grounds, but is moving much faster than some would have expected. There definitely may be some missteps, but we are actually on course to letting the world know exactly what we are going through and understand exactly what we want. Now, another very important observation. There is general consensus around the world that Mr. Paul Biya's chariot of a dialogue called the Grand National Dialogue was a farce. Nobody has bought into it. Nobody accepts anything that came out of there. All recognize that it was Mr. Paul Biya and his government talking to themselves. Reasons from one diplomat to the other, they continued to point out the importance of a clear-cut dialogue, negotiations in the presence of a third party. In this case, the German diplomat actually even mentioned the Swiss-led initiative. Of course, there are other initiatives that may definitely come up. My dear people, the next thing that also pick away from there is that the debate of a special status from La République du Cameroun has also not been accepted. It has not been swallowed by anybody. They understand it's an empty shell, and they understand the people of the southern Cameroons have refused and will not fall for it. And I'm happy that this lesson is sinking, because the world knows that for there to be peace, for there to be a solution to the ongoing conflict that is claiming lives uselessly for no good reason, the dialogue has got to be frank and should address the root causes, as one of the diplomats mentioned. Yes, I listened to the diplomat from Tunisia representing the trio of the Maghreb countries, made clear that the root causes of the conflict need to be addressed, and that is what has to be discussed on the negotiation table. Away from there, they also pointed out clearly that despite all efforts by La République du Cameroun to buy time, thinking that they can convince the world that they have what it takes to defeat our people militarily, whereas we never walked into that a fake union because we were conquered at war. This message should clearly now be sinking in the minds of those in La République du Cameroun who continue to believe that they can subdue us by force. The freedom of the southern Cameroons in the minds of our people is an ideology. You don't kill an ideology militarily. No, it will never die. Let me remember, or let me recall this very interesting saying, that you can resist an entire army regiment, but you will not be able to resist an idea whose time has come. The freedom of the southern Cameroons, total independence for the southern Cameroons is an ideology. So even the world itself should understand that no amount of trying to coerce us into any form of association again with La République du Cameroun will gain traction among our people. Various surveys have demonstrated this. The actions of our people on the ground continue to demonstrate this by the day. Again now, let us talk of the issue of self-determination versus autonomy. I know that in the minds and hearts of some diplomats in the international community, they think that perhaps if Mr. Paul Biya were to be changed as president of Cameroon, our situation could be resolved. No. Some also erroneously think that perhaps if they were to return to some kind of a federal system, like it was our desire at some point, it will work. No, it can't work again. No form of association with La République du Cameroon will convince the people of the southern Cameroons to stop seeking what they want. And this is simple. La République du Cameroon are a people who have never, ever respected any engagement. I think the world itself can see the bad faith from La République du Cameroon through their continuous denial to do what is right. Each time there is pressure, they pretend to do one thing or the other, going around the issue. They never want to face the issue. Those are the kind of people they are. So those kind of people never keep to any engagement, never keep to any agreement, never keep to any arrangement. So there is no point staking when you know what the outcome would be like. Therefore, when the German diplomat talks about, the issue of autonomy or some kind of autonomy for the people of the southern Cameroons, of course, they have rejected the current decentralization and they're thinking of something, whether it is confederation or, federation, it is not going to work. It will not work. We have been there. We tried it. We actually went in on the understanding that that is how it was going to be. But La République du Cameroon, they can't resist the temptation of centralizing everything and transforming us into their slaves. It can't work. Even in the midst of the ongoing crisis, we can still see what is happening to our people. La République du Cameroon continues to use all kinds of means. Look at what happened to this young child who came away from school on Bengui Road, leading to Bamenda, and was playing behind the house, and then gates swept off the feet, his life cut off by, a group of people who call themselves professional soldiers, shooting in the wild. Just like that. In a civilian setting. This is unacceptable. This is because they see our people as objects. This is because they consider that they can continue to take our lives for their sport. This is unacceptable. And this is a thing we are all ready to die for. Now, there's another aspect. The talk from the German diplomat about the activities of our diaspora. My dear people, I think we ourselves have found time to say some who have infiltrated our ranks and claim to be fighting with us for freedom have used language that is simply meant to discredit our movement. We have embarked on a huge education campaign, and we will continue this education campaign to let our people know that you can fight for freedom without using language which will easily be misconstrued for hate language, without using language which will easily be misconstrued for language inciting violence. We simply need to tell the world and tell our people what we stand for, what we need in clear, simple English language. That said, I was highly shocked that this same diplomat who brought condemnation upon the use of some unacceptable language among our diaspora did not find time to condemn the incessant atrocities by La République du Cameroon on our people. The very worrisome situation of the children, of the school children in Kumba, the worrisome situation of the school children in Victoria, the worrisome situation of school children across the board in the southern Cameroons, rape on young girls, on women, looting, exploitation, torture, burning down of villages, and all of those things didn't strike a chord. But this is actually the elephant in the house. My dear people, I think it is important for us to continue to draw the attention of the international community to the effect that we are not on the same pulse with La République du Cameroon. They are the aggressors. They are the people wreaking havoc on our people. We are simply screeching. That is why some of us who have stood and continue to stand for peaceful resistance We'll keep seeing our voices drowned by those who feel that it is important to retaliate. I think it is time for us to once more sound the alarm for the international community to recognize that their continued indifference, yes, their continued indifference, and just resorting to making speeches, sending out notes of condemnation, and calling on the same government to investigate its own crimes has not paid off. On the contrary, the situation is decaying. It is time for the free world to understand the need to step in and restore order. That is when, and only when, La République du Cameroon will understand the need to respect the inalienable human rights of the people of the Southern Cameroons, even as they prepare to pack out of our territory. The 10th of December that just passed yesterday was the International Day for Human Rights. But it is on that day that we also witnessed a lot of torture in our land. It is on that day that innocent civilians were cut off the world in the Southern Cameroons. It is on that same day that innocent people were tortured. And it is on that day that the colonial authorities of La République du Cameroon were brutalizing the ears of our business community in Bamenda with threats rather than coming to sit down to spar with the people on exactly what needs to be done by peaceful means, so that the two Cameroons live side by side as neighbors in peace and tranquility, helping each other's endeavor to development. I think we have a great assignment, and that assignment we must conduct. As you listen to this video, click to subscribe to this channel, share, and take the appointment. Our next recording will be on Sunday. And on that Sunday, I will bring you this very important analysis regarding the situation of our traditional rulers in the Southern Cameroons and why we are where we are with these people. And then talk about the remedies that we need to put in place to ensure that the soul of the Southern Cameroons is not completely destroyed by the encroaching La République du Cameroon. And I want to thank each and every one of us for listening, and make sure you share this communication, and let's meet again on Sunday. Thank you.